Today we're talking about something that I feel like comes up more and more and more these days. Is Apple in trouble? Are they still innovating or are they coasting? Today's video is brought to you by Brain.fm, science-backed focus music that sounds great, by the way. You can check it out, linked up down below. What kicked off today's video is Robert Scoble responding to some other people on X talking about what they've seen and heard behind the scenes at Apple. And I'm just gonna read some of this because I think that that's gonna do a better job of me trying to summarize everything. So Robert says, Apple is now vulnerable. Why? AI brings a paradigm shift that Apple's gonna find it hard to deal with. It's gonna take years to play out, but Apple's management is kind of like Kodak or Nokia, not listening to the market, not humble, too political. As holodecks and robots hit later this year from a number of companies, we'll start understanding the shifts already underway. I don't think anyone who's tried Apple Intelligence, so-called, has been wowed by it or amazed or felt like this is the future. And so I think that it's not hard to understand that Apple has been maximizing the products that they have on hand and trying to derive as much revenue and life out of those products as is possible. But just because Apple has taken that approach and is in fact doing that, it doesn't mean that other factors outside of Apple's control aren't going to come along and disrupt the Apple model. Robert continues, Meta, Nvidia, even Tesla are smelling blood in the water and quite a few robot companies. In 5 years, if we all have a robot of some sort in our home, Apple's gonna start stumbling. Apple needs a leadership change and a big one. It blew its chance to get into autonomous vehicles because of politics and a lack of vision, is what I'm hearing from many people. Tesla's Cybercab was the final bullet. Somebody made an interesting point, and it was something along the lines of a car doesn't stop where it breaks down. Of course, it continues to coast for a while, and they use that metaphor, that analogy for trying to parse out where Apple finds itself right now. Apple certainly has a ton of momentum and they can continue on and exist for a long time, whether or not they come out with another new product for a while that's super innovative that gets everyone talking or not. But a leadership change doesn't seem like something that's going to happen, according to Robert. He says Tim Cook was chosen by Steve himself and he's not going to step down. Even if he did, the real problem is some old guys directly underneath him, many of whom still have big names. They have no vision. They're way too political. They need to put way more effort into spatial computing and robots. And there's just way too little effort, way too little leadership, no passion. Now, I'm not here to necessarily weigh in or put my fingers on the scale. I don't think that I have the insight to do that. Honestly, the behind the scenes insight. I have a very limited amount of behind the scenes knowledge, which is almost none. And I just have my own experience as an Apple consumer and somebody who actually is building in the AI space and can kind of just see where my own passions and interests are heading. And I feel like often I'm less excited about the devices, the services, the apps that Apple's putting out there versus some of the interesting things that I'm seeing from companies like Nvidia, for instance, or Tesla, where you have, yes, cars that drive themselves around, but also robots that are being made that not only work in factories, but maybe live in your house as well. To even companies surprisingly like Meta. Now, I haven't tried Meta's new glasses. It's been a while since I got into any of their VR products to give it a serious look, a couple of years anyways. But on the AI front, on the open source AI front, Meta is doing stuff that seems to be more cutting edge than what Apple's doing when it comes to AI, usable AI, not just machine learning, right, for editing your photos. So I feel like there is a big shift, a meta shift. I'm not talking about Meta, the company. So Robert is onto something here. Now for him, he says the $64,000 question is who's gonna win the holodeck and robot wars that will soon start. The next year certainly won't be boring. Apple has all the advantages, but I've learned many times that market share and advantages do not matter at all. Just ask Alta Vista if you're old enough to remember that, or Nokia. And he's going as far as moving his investments away from Apple and more towards Nvidia and Tesla. Now, it's not just Robert. Here's Brian Ramel, who is also deep into tech and AI, and he's saying, Robert, as you know, I've had so many meetings with Apple. I've tried hard to literally donate my time to $1 trillion company, and the layers of bureaucracy was incomprehensible. This has led so many that new AI to leave the company. Robert, sadly, this is not the Apple we knew. And I gotta tell you, I'm encountering this kind of stuff all over the place. It's not just these two people, and it's not just people who have a vested interest in, seeing Apple not do as well as they have been and want to take some market share. It's on the consumer side, it's kind of just everywhere. And the only place where I'm not getting that vibe from is kind of from Apple itself, which is not surprising at all. So I'm curious your thoughts here. I don't dislike Apple stuff. I view Apple's products at the moment as kind of my window into some of the other things that really interest me and excite me. But the window itself isn't exactly all that exciting. It's the view through the window that's really exciting. And increasingly, I think in the future, the frame, the window, is going to matter a lot less as technology shifts. And I think Apple is trying to be somewhat forward focused, especially with the Vision Pro. That had some hiccups. The future is not 100% clear. It's not 100% clear that Apple's going to clean up in that potential market. And it's so weird for me to hear from Apple fans who seem to be putting on blinders and want to just continue on the way that they're used to with Apple rather than thinking about, is Apple the same Apple that got you excited in the first place? And I do agree that Apple has a ton of resources, ability, name it, to come out swinging and get some of the fire back and not have to experience a huge downturn, not just in economic terms or letting other tech companies come in and disrupt them, but also in terms of just being able to get customers really fired up and excited about Apple again. In a lot of ways, Apple is just a marketing company almost at the moment. Now, that's not fair, but I think that that's a critique that is floating out there is just how clever can Apple be with marketing rather than how amazing can they make their products. On the phone side of things, Apple lost some market share in China, where companies are doing a lot more with AI, and Apple slipped into third place, I believe, over in the Chinese market for the smartphone market. And that's a big market. So we're not just talking about hypothetical things here. You either are the most innovative, best solution on the market, or you're not. Apple Silicon had such a jump on the AI landscape in terms of capabilities that seemed to be mostly squandered by Apple itself. So anyways, weigh in with your thoughts. This seems like an important topic for people that they need to seriously grasp and talk about rather than just sort of push under the rug, especially if you, like me, have so many Apple products in your life and in your workflow, and you want them to continue to excel so that you can use them to do insane, cool, awesome creative things. I just want to take a brief second and let you know about our sponsor today, Brain.fm. I love Brain.fm. I'm literally never without this app on my Mac, on my iPhone, wherever I go, because it just sounds so good. But it's not just about the sound. Brain.fm is science-based, science-backed, and it will help you actually concentrate better. So it actually works as fast as just 5 minutes. And I love the interface, and it just really has quite an effect. Check it out. As you can see, people really love it. And if you check the link down in the description, you get 30 days free.